Chapter 513, playing a very good role of resemblance, everyone looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang with amazement and constantly wondered if their thoughts were correct. "Miss Bailey, don't you have a detoxification dan?" one cultivator from Jijia asked. They had thought that Bailey Hong Zhuang would be able to purge the poison using a detoxification dan, but it now seemed that the situation was much more complicated. "I am not a prophet. How could I have a detoxification dan for her poisoning?" Hearing this question from Bailey Hong Zhuang, Jijia's cultivators looked embarrassed. So far, they could not determine whether this poison was the work of Bailey Hong Zhuang. This time, they were really planted in the hands of Bailey Hong Zhuang. However, as everyone saw the sweat dripping from Bailey Hong Zhuang's forehead and her pale face, their looks changed. If this poison was really the work of Bailey Hong Zhuang did not need to detoxify so laboriously. They were going to enter the ancient monument later. Wasn't this asking for trouble? Was it true then that it was someone else who caused this poisoning? At the thought of this, the faces of Ji Yuner and Ji Jia's cultivators became ugly and unsightly. She had been very careful even in the family, but she had not expected that she had been given a poison. This matter must be checked after they went back. "Master, in order to detoxify this annoying woman, you are even expending so much energy." Xiao Bai's eyes revealed the color of worry. Compared to the inheritance of the ancient monument, Ji Jia's favor was nothing. Xiao He was also worried that their master would suffer a loss this time. Bailey Hong Zhuang smirked and explained, "Don't worry, I am just putting up a show." Before she had poisoned her, she had already thought of everything. Detoxification was not too complicated, not at all like what it looked. It's just that she's going to swindle them again. She was a physician, and it was not a problem for her to make her face look pale by using various methods. Xiao Bai and Xiao He were speechless. Their master's methods were beyond their imagination. It was really not like her normal image. Inexplicably, they began to sympathize with the group of deceived cultivators of Jijia. They were afraid that the other party had already begun thinking of who poisoned Ji Yuner. Even for someone wise like Di Bei-chun, at this moment, after seeing the face of Bailey Hong Zhuang, his handsome face showed an expression of worry. When Bailey Hong Zhuang used to treat him, he already knew the degree of fatigue it would cause Bailey Hong Zhuang. If Bailey Hong Zhuang were to become weak now, then it was not good. After a while, Bailey Hong Zhuang released the silver needle and said, "Okay." Ji Yuner felt a burst of joy when she listened to this. She had almost become lifeless. When she turned around, she saw the pale face of Bailey Hong Zhuang. She couldn't say anything even if she felt like screaming. Was it true that someone from her family poisoned her? Bailey Hong Zhuang's expression did not look fake, not to mention the fact that Bailey Hong Zhuang had saved her life. If she treated Bailey Hong Zhuang with the same attitude as before, she was afraid everyone would despise her. "Thank you." Ji Yuner stood up and looking very unnatural, she walked away. Right now, her mood was very complicated, and except for herself, I am afraid that no one could understand her. Lin Yiro, on the other, stared at Ji Yuner. It was really rare for her to put down her hatred, but in front of so many people, if she still acted jealously, then it would only evoke everyone's disgust. Chapter 514, Tenderness Mine. As this scene happened, the others quietened down. Previously, the one creating a racket had been Ji Yuner, and the contradictions later were also because of her provocations. Now that Ji Yuner was no longer looking for trouble, everyone was naturally very quiet. Everything sent by Ji Jia's cultivators was kept in the Qingquan bag. The behemoths like Ji Jia were just like fat sheep slaughtered for riches in her eyes. Di Bei-chun walked up to sit down beside Bailey Hong Zhuang and quietly raised his thumb. Wifey's ruse was really wonderful. Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyebrows rose, and she looked at Di Bei-chun. "I didn't do anything." Hearing this, Di Bei-chun's lips arched in an evil smile. His wifey was really a cunning little fox. For the means of his own wife, he was quite aware that she would never suffer a loss whenever and wherever she was. Next, the handsome face of Di Bei-chun showed a touch of seriousness and concern. "Nyangzi, you just helped detoxify Ji Yuner. How is your body?" Saying this, Di Bei Chun took out a Dan medicine and took it up to Bailey Hong Zhuang's cinnabar lips. Bailey Hong Zhuang shook her head and signaled that she was fine. She said, "Don't worry. I have no problems." However, Di Bei Chun still stubbornly tried to feed it to Hong Zhuang. "You will enter the monument later, and your state is like this. How can I feel at ease?" Looking at the care and distress in Bei Bei Chun's eyes, Bailey Hong Zhuang's own eyes flashed with the light of warmth, and she could not stop the spreading traces of gentleness. She had always been hesitant about accepting Di Bei Chun. Firstly, because of the disparity in their identity, and regardless of who she was in the past. Right now, she was just the daughter of an ordinary general from a small country, not to mention the inexplicable hatred won. Secondly, because she had treated Di Bei Chun's legs. Perhaps Bei Chun was only grateful to her, and so he had been taking care of her. However, under such circumstances when Di Bei Chun cared for her, her firm heart gradually melted. Even now, Di Bei Chun was not clear about her inner thoughts, but she felt that if Di Bei Chun would always be with her, she would also be happy. The feeling of being cared for by another person felt really good. When Di Bei Chun saw Bailey Hong Zhuang looking up at him, he looked at the limpid, watery eyes of Bailey Hong Zhuang, his heart shaking and a smile spreading on his lips. On this trip to the ancient monument, he and his wifey could make such a progress. He really felt it was worthwhile. "Rest assured, my paleness is just a disguise, and in fact, there is no damage," Bailey Hong Zhuang said softly. "You keep your Dan for now, until the time we need it, and then use it." Di Bei Chun paused, but after seeing the gradually improving face of Bailey Hong Zhuang, he also began to believe in Bailey Hong Zhuang's words, and in his heart, there was an even bigger sigh. It seems that even he had been fooled by his wifey's means. Not far away, Han Shiling was looking at the closeness of Di Bei Chun and Bailey Hong Zhuang. A smudge of haze slowly appeared in her eyes, and the hands under the sleeves were clenched into fists. She had never seen Di Gid show such tenderness until Bailey Hong Zhuang appeared. That kind of tenderness she had hoped for many times in her midnight dreams. However, Di Bei Chun never showed her such tenderness, and it was now dedicated to another woman. No, that tenderness should be hers. It had just been 3 years. She must take back the tenderness that belongs to her. Chapter 5:15. Leaving and entering the monument. The ward is gradually disappearing. A shout came, and everyone's gazes immediately locked onto the ancient monument. The ward, which was originally shining with a colorful light, gradually dissipated, like the melting of the snow, and there was no obstruction between the people and the relic. The white body of the monument was magnificent, and a tall and thick white jade door appeared in front of everyone. In the face of such a huge door, everyone's heart was inevitably filled with a sense of awe. As a younger generation, in the face of a legacy left by a predecessor, they would always feel awe and yearning. The ward has disappeared. We now enter it. Lu Huaiyan's voice was full of excitement, and his originally faint breathing had become rushed. Everyone nodded, and their eyes shone with the rich light of excitement. For the treasures in the monument, they had long been blinded. The moment when the ward completely disappeared, the 4 cultivation families and Tiangang Zone had already begun making their move and rushed to the monument without hesitation. The treasures inside were all unknown. First come, first serve. The ones coming late could only rob from the hands of other people. "Nyangzi, be careful after entering. If you can, you must follow behind me." Di Bei Chun's face was filled with a dignified color, and he gazed deeply at Bailey Hong Zhuang. The traces of worry in his eyes were overflowing as he said these words. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded slightly. "I understand. Okay, let's go in." Di Bei Chun nodded and immediately took the hand of Bailey Hong Zhuang and rushed towards the door. Lu Huaiyan and the others also no longer hesitated, and they too rushed towards the door. Only Lu Qin stayed in the same place. She had already made her decision, and even though the inside would be full of eyes catching treasures, the most important thing was to keep your life. "Gong Gij 1, I will be waiting for you at the Songlan College. You must come back safely." Lu Qin looked at the departing back of Gong Xiaoqing and couldn't help but shout. There were faint tears in her eyes. She was really worried about this. If she went back first and was unable to see Gong Xiaoqing later. "I will," Gong Xiaoqing responded, but never looked back. Ding, ding, ding. 2. The crowd had just pushed open the heavy doors when countless arrows flew directly at them from inside. Some of the cultivators who could not it quick enough were hit by these arrows and lost their lives. Di Beichun and Bailey Hongzhuang had started a few moments later than everyone else, so they stopped after seeing the arrow attack. Sure enough, there are many organs, 3, in the ancient monument. They must have been activated when the door was opened. There was a faint emotion in the words of Bailey Hongzhuang, and the previously white building had been contaminated with blood, and the faint bloody smell was also spreading in the air. The dignified emotion in Di Beichen's eyes was getting thicker and thicker. The danger in this monument is a bit more than we anticipated. In my opinion, it will not be a simple matter to enter this monument. We don't need to be too anxious. Let's go in after everyone enters. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with wisdom. This ruin was so huge that there must be passages in every direction when they enter. Even if they go in late, they will not lose out on too much. Hearing these words, Di Beichun was amazed in his heart. At this moment, his wife was not blinded by the treasures inside the monument. On the contrary, she was so calm, which really made him feel at ease. Chapter 5, 16 Choices, Different Channels. Ding ding. The sound of clanging iron and gold sounded, and the arrows that shot out from the ancient monument were swept away by powerful and sturdy cultivators. Apart from the initial cultivators who were directly hit by the arrows, others were never injured. After the rain of fired arrows stopped, everyone went in again, but their speed was a lot slower than before. No, they were full of caution about this monument. However, until everyone entered the monument, no other attacks or traps emerged. Boom! The crowd had just entered the ancient monument when a loud and heavy voice sounded, and the previously opened doors had been closed shut. Everyone was shocked and wanted to open the doors of the ancient monument again, only to find that no matter how hard they tried, the door was not moving. For a time, everyone's heart sank. It seemed that they had no way out. As the doors had been closed, everything had fallen into darkness, and the darkness enveloped everyone, making them reach out for those near them. Where is this? Why is it so strange? Bai Junyu frowned. The situation inside the ancient monument right now was beyond his expectations. I don't know, but with this darkness, I can't see the path at all. How do we go? Xia Zhiqing replied. She had already heard that anything could happen in ancient monuments, but this event of closing them in was beyond her imagination. Did they want to keep all of them here? Suddenly, a golden halo appeared in front of everyone, and the surroundings were still dark, but everyone could judge that this halo was coming from deep within the monument, illuminating different channels. It seems that we have to choose a way. Di Beichen's voice was heavy. At first glance, they could see that the passages in front of them were all the same, and there was no difference at all. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slowly. Different channels may have different results. This kind of thing, apart from the master of the monument, they would simply not know the final result. Once they chose wrongly, they may be trapped in the monument forever and never see the sunshine again. The cruelty of ancient monuments had always been famous. Once they succeeded, the cultivators would undergo a qualitative change, but once they failed, it meant death. The appearance of every ancient monument was accompanied by the fall of countless cultivators, so everyone had to care about the attraction that such inheritance emitted. With so many channels, which one should I choose? Bailey Hongzhuang's phoenix-like eyes narrowed, her eyes constantly darting between the many channels in front of her, looking for differences, not giving up on any clue she could find. Once she chose, she may lose her life, so she can't be careless. This kind of an ancient monument is really on another level. There is no difference between these channels. Xiaohei could not help but sigh. It had observed for a long time, let alone any differences. Even the brightness of the light was exactly the same. Which should they choose? It seems that we can only rely on luck for this thing. Xiaobai was also helpless. All the people with good brains were most afraid of encountering situations depending on pure luck. All the people had been silent for a while, but they had become impatient. There were those who were unwilling to wait and directly choose a channel and walked into it. No matter, let's go straight in and see. The voice fell, and a cultivator had already walked into the passage nearest to him. With this initiative, other cultivators also followed suit after a few moments of thought, choosing their paths to go inside. Bei Chen's voice was slightly teasing, but the words sounded seriously in Bailey Hongzhuang's ears, and her palms had been wrapped with his warm ones. Bailey Hongzhuang turned her line of sight and looked over the handsome face of Bei Chen, which held a smile and an expression of indulgence. So close, so warm. After all, he did not hesitate to choose her and walk with her, and Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth overflowed with a smile. She understood that the reason for Bei Chen's current attitude to Han Xiling was because he and Han Xiling had known each other for many years. Now, the actions of Bei Chen had clearly demonstrated his attitude. He had nothing more to do with Han Xiling except for their friendship in addition to their many years of acquaintance. Bailey Hongzhuang tightly held on to Bei Chen's hand, a shallow smile of her charming face. Let's go. Only Han Xiling stood in the same place. Watching the backs of the two people, her eyes were very murky. Chapter 5:19 Lost in an Illusion. As Bailey Hongzhuang and Bei Chen walked in the passage, they found that there was still no end to the darkness. Both were walking quite fast. However, no matter how fast the two's speed was, there was still a long darkness before them, as if there was no end. What kind of passage is this? It's really weird. Bailey Hongzhuang's brows knotted. They had been walking for so long. It was reasonable to say that even if the monument was huge, they would have already come to an end. It seems that there is no danger in this passage, but it is only a test of whether we can find the exit. Bei Chen's voice was low, and his eyes were constantly looking around the passage. Needless to say, he had already guessed that they had been walking so long and not seen anyone. It was possibly because they have not yet noticed the place where the exit was. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. There was no danger in this passage, which made her relieved. At least she did not have to worry about her life. If it is as I expect, then what we see in front of us should be an illusion. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was determined and confident. She had seen illusions before, but the illusion cast by each cultivator was different. What the illusion they saw in front of them was despairing darkness. Illusion? Bei Chen slowly said, and there was some confusion and wonder between his eyebrows. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. The illusion is just a fictitious scene created by cultivators in a special way. If other cultivators are caught in it, they may not even know it. Perhaps in the eyes of others, we are just standing still. This monument size we have seen on the outside, and it is absolutely impossible for this passage to go on for so long. Therefore, an illusion is the only possible answer. There was such a special method I'd never heard of, Bei Chen lamented. His wifey knew a lot of things, though when he thought about it, he felt that his wifey's words were very reasonable. Seeing that Bei Chen had never heard of illusions, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but pause. In the era of her previous life, illusions was an art that many cultivators had mastered. However, each person's illusions were different. Some cultivators have poor illusion, which was not enough to confuse people. And there were some cultivators who were extremely superb and could make the people live carefree in the jaws of death, but have no knowledge. It should not be impossible to have heard of illusions before with Bei Chen's identity. Bei Chen's serious appearance did not look fake. Was it true that only in the past 1,000 years, the art of illusions had completely disappeared from the Xingxue continent? Just as Bailey Hongzhuang thought this, Bei Chen's next words made her affirm her own guess. Nyangzi, you know a lot of things, even I can't compare. His deep as sea eyes were full of admiration. Bei Chen thought that he knows a lot of things, But when compared to Bailey Hong Zhuang, he found that the knowledge he had was not as good as his wifey. Whether it was the technique of vibrating needles or acupuncture or even the current illusion, he had never known of them before, but Bailey Hong Zhuang had mastered them. This was not ordinary. Just who was his wife? Why did she know about the lost things that many people had not heard of at all? Thinking of this, Di Bei Chen's hand holding on to Bailey Hong Zhuang's could not help but tighten, and the feelings that Bailey Hong Zhuang made him feel really made him embarrassed. It made him feel like he could not grasp onto her. It seemed that there was an invisible layer of cloth that separated him from Bailey Hong Zhuang, so that he could not truly look at her. Chapter 5, 20A Flaw, A Mysterious Illusion. She did not care much about the secret of her identity. It was just that such a thing, even if it got out, no one would believe it. She was also not willing to add more trouble. If in the future, she and Di Bei Chun reached a point where their hearts and souls could connect, she may tell this thing calmly to Di Bei Chun. As for now, she pushed her inexplicable knowledge onto her imaginary master. We will observe the nuances in the vicinity. As long as this is an illusion, there will be flaws, but it is difficult to find these flaws. Hearing this, Di Bei Chun nodded, but the hand holding Bailey Hong Zhuang's was not released. He just looked carefully at everything around him. Xiao He, Xiao Bai, and Baisher were not idle at this moment, and they also helped Bailey Hong Zhuang to find flaws in this illusion. This is really enough. There is nothing more than darkness here. Where can anyone find flaws? Xiao He finally couldn't help his helplessness, his eyes drying. He couldn't find any flaws here. Which great master designed and created such an illusion? Xiao Bai, who had been silent all this while said, looking for flaws in such a place. It was a joke. Just as the two of them trapped in the passage, the situation of other cultivators was worse than them. Just like the fluctuations from the ring of chaos, among the unresponsive passages, the cultivators who walked and had died, and the smell of blood gradually spread. And those passages which produced relatively small fluctuations had emergences of various traps. These traps had certain risks, but as long as your response was fast enough, it was not impossible to escape from these traps. Among all the passages, there was no risk only in the passage Bailey Hong Zhuang chose. Bailey Hong Zhuang stopped a moment since she had already determined the situation in front of her. They would not have to continue moving forward. Where is the flaw? Bailey Hong Zhuang was constantly thinking about this, and looking at the ground tried to look for any differences there. No matter what, no matter where she observes, she had not found any problems at all. There seems to be no problem here. Wifey, is it really an illusion? Di Bei Chen asked. Bailey Hong Zhuang thought for a moment, shook her head and said, no, this must be an illusion. Since we can only go back and forth, then we will try to walk to the side. A bright light appeared in Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes. In the past, she also had a certain understanding of illusions. Usually, in such a situation, the effect she wanted could be achieved as long as she did the opposite. Sideways? Di Bei Chun had some doubts. He did not understand what she meant to say. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled lightly. This is a characteristic of illusions. Let's try it first. If it succeeds, I will explain it to you. Good. Bailey Hong Zhuang turned to look at Di Bei Chun, saying, now, close your eyes. In your mind, think firmly that everything in front of you is fake. Don't doubt it. Then go to the side and walk towards the wall. Do not hesitate. And Di Bei Chun replied with no hesitance. He always believed in Bailey Hong Zhuang. Even if it looked like a hard wall in front of him, it was very likely that it was an illusion, and he had no doubt about it. Chapter 521 Successful, The Hall of the Monument. Next, Di Bei Chun and Bailey Hong Zhuang did not hesitate to smash straight through the walls on the sides. Seeing this scene, Xiao He, Xiao Bai, and Baisher couldn't help but cover their eyes. This was too cruel, directly hitting the wall. If it was not as their master predicted, then Master and Di Bei Chun would be really unlucky. Boom! A loud noise blasted in Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Chun's ears. The two only felt that they had hit the real thing accidentally, but the expected pain did not come. Bailey Hong Zhuang slowly opened her eyes, but she saw Di Bei Chun looking at her with a smile. The darkness in front of them, They did not win. It had disappeared, and it was replaced by bright light. Wifey, we have succeeded. In Di Bei Chen's eyes, there was difficult to conceal the expression of surprise. He was really convinced by the wisdom of his wife. For this illusion, he simply did not understand it. If his wife had not thought of the flaws in the illusion, he was afraid that he could not estimate how much time he would have wasted in the passage. Bailey Hong Zhuang's red lips parted in a faint smile. It seems that what she had expected was indeed true. In front of them, there were passages intricately extending in all directions, and tightly closed stone chambers appeared on both sides of the passageway, and some treasures were placed in these stone chambers. The two turned their heads and saw that all the darkness they had seen before was unreal, and the long, unending passage was in fact just a short road of a dozen meters. However, they also saw a lot of cultivators constantly stepping past them, their faces full of ecstasy, just like there were treasures in front of them. In other passages, there were also many bodies. Seeing this situation, Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes unintentionally fell onto the ring of chaos on her hand. If it wasn't for the ring of chaos guiding her to a safe passage, she would not have so easily broken out of the predicament. Suddenly, Bailey Hong Zhuang saw Xia Zhiqing, who was still on the other side, and she shouted, Zhiqing, can you hear me? However, no matter how Bailey Hong Zhuang shouted, Xia Zhiqing still blankly walked ahead. Obviously, she couldn't hear the voice of Bailey Hong Zhuang. Seeing this situation, Bailey Hong Zhuang was also somewhat helpless. Fortunately, the road they chose was not a dead end, and she was relieved. Then let's go first. Bailey Hong Zhuang tuned to look at Di Bei Chen. And Di Bei Chen nodded, walking forward with Bailey Hong Zhuang. Boom! As the stone room opened, countless particles of dust were stirred up, and Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Chen discovered that there were a lot of martial arts on the inside. The level of these martial arts was not high. Mostly they were yellow-grade martial arts, but it was still possible to auction a lot of these at expensive prices. As Bailey Hong Zhuang picked up a martial art, she discovered that the martial art directly disintegrated onto the ground. It seems that these martial arts have been in this chamber for too many long years, and the paper has now been turned into ash. Martial arts were the essence of many cultivators, so it was a pity that they had decayed with time. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded slightly, no longer delaying. She said, It seems that these martial arts can't be saved. We'll go back. Good. Di Bei Chen agreed. From the degree of aging of these papers, it seems that this monument is at least a few hundred years old. It's been here a long time. A lot of the treasures will be no longer useful. Let's just look at what else is still here. Chapter 522 Treasures, Mysterious Stone Room. Di Bei Chen and Bailey Hong Zhuang walked forward. The stone rooms by the side of the path were opened by them, and some things inside had turned useless over time. However, when the two left, they still carefully closed the doors of the stone tools. It took a little time and delayed them. Although with the existence of the illusion everyone would be trapped for a while, they believe that after a period of time, everyone will understand the key to breaking it. The time this monument has been buried is too long. Except for the inheritance left by the Lord, I am afraid that there will not be many useful things. After opening a few stone chambers in a row, a bright light flashed in Di Bei Chen's eyes. The treasures had been sealed. It was not good for it to be so for a long time. Too many resources became useless as time went by, and there was very little they could get. For example, just now, they saw a small arsenal of weapons, but the weapons had become like waste residue over time. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded slightly. After being buried for such a long time, all treasures must have turned to waste. For them, ordinary weapons and martial arts were not of much use, and they could only be sold to gain money. Although money was important, they were not lacking for the time being, so it didn't matter either way. The two people went all the way forward, and some of the stone chambers were directly omitted. Most of the treasure's value in the stone rooms in front of them was not very precious. It was better to go to more important places. When Bailey Hong Zhuang came to the front of a stone chamber, there were some doubts in her beautiful eyes. The door of this stone chamber seemed slightly different from the stone room doors she had seen before. The thick little white door was a little bigger than the other stone doors. Even if she wanted to open it with a push, she found that the stone door could not be budged. Upon seeing this, Bei-chen's figure flashed forward, and a fist unhesitantly hit on the stone door. Boom! Debris fell to the ground, but the stone door had not moved at all. This stone chamber seems to be different. Bei-chen's handsome eyes slightly narrowed, and his line of sight solidified onto the stone door. Master, I feel that there are energy fluctuations here. Xiaohei's eyes flashed with exuberance, and he excitedly told this to Bailey Hongzhuang. Listening to the words of Xiaohei, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes also filled with a bright light. Until now, they had not had even a little harvest. Perhaps the stone chamber in front of them would yield something. What kind of energy fluctuations do you feel? Bailey Hongzhuang asked as she searched for ways to open the stone door. Xiao Bai shook his head. I don't know. I can only affirm that the energy fluctuations in the stone chamber are very strong. There should be a treasure inside. Wifey, this stone chamber's door won't open. Presumably, it must be something good. Bei-chen's voice was a little dignified, and his eyes were constantly looking around the stone room. With his hunch, the value of the thing inside must be higher than the value of the things in the other stone rooms. Next, Bei-chen and Bailey Hongzhuang looked at each other and no longer hesitated. On both sides of the stone door, they looked for an organ. Bailey Hongzhuang's hands touched the sides of the stone door, and the flat wall was exceptionally smooth, with no bumps. In this regard, Bailey Hongzhuang did not find it unexpected. If there really was a treasure inside here, then this organ would not be so easy to find. Ah! Bailey Hongzhuang tapped on the wall gently. Listening to any difference in the sound, the organ should be near the stone door, so they had to be very careful. They cannot let go of the slightest difference. The extraordinarily handsome face of Bei-chen was also filled with seriousness. His ear was close to the wall and listening carefully for any difference in the sound. Although it seemed simple, when facing such a large wall, it would require a great patience. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang and Bei-chen continued to tap the wall and look for the organ, the sound of other cultivators' voices gradually came from behind. I didn't expect the trial in the first passage to be so strange. If I hadn't been too desperate, I wouldn't have ever hit the wall. Ha! There was such a thing. I've never really heard of it. There was no sound after you hit the wall, and I also tried it. I didn't expect to come out like this. The rest of the idiots don't know when they will come out. We both have a great chance now. The excitement of the two people could be clearly seen from the conversation between the two. In this moment of the expedition, having this opportunity was a pie from the sky. I'm going. No, what will we do? Xiaohei said silently. They had used knowledge to get through. It had not expected someone to get through in this sly, cat-caught dead mice way. Its eyes were a bit bright. This world is full of infinite possibilities. Even if we can't accept this, we have to. Xiao Bai shook his head slightly. If it were not for Master knowing the way to break through the illusion, they didn't know what they would be doing right now. Master, come on! Baisher's face was a bit worried. The two cultivators would arrive soon to where Master was, and they must speed up. Bailey Hongzhuang and Bei-chen increased their speed. They must open the stone door before other arrived, otherwise they would inevitably have to fight. Baisher also slammed the wall with its small claws, trying to help Bailey Hongzhuang find the organ. Bei-chen noticed the movement of Baisher, and there was a strange emotion in his eyes. The nature of Beastmaster need not be explained. It was not a simple matter to make the Beastmaster listen to them with such willingness. Judging from the current attitude of the Beastmaster, it was very good for Bailey Hongzhuang. He did not have to worry about this. As the footsteps from behind were getting closer, the movement of Bailey Hongzhuang was also getting faster. Hey, isn't that Bei-chen and Bailey Hongzhuang? I didn't expect them to come out earlier than us. The two men in the rear came all the way forward, finally seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and Bei-chen. A light suddenly appeared in their eyes. The two of them had not had even a little bit of harvest so far, and maybe the two people, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bei-chen, had already put the treasures in their chinquan bag. Fast! Catch up with them. The two men moved and rushed toward the place where the two people were. Time is too late. Bailey Hong Zhuang frowned. This organ was too well hidden. Despite looking for half an hour, they did not find anything. Sha, a subtle sound came out, and Bailey Hong Zhuang found that the stone door that had been closed suddenly opened in front of their eyes. Di Bei-chun and Bailey Hong Zhuang glanced at each there. The two of them had not found the organ. In the next moment, their eyes were locked onto Bai-shi. Chapter 5:24 Treasure. Yuanli Guo waved his two small claws and looked at the door. He then smugly looked at the two people. Seeing the place that Bai-shi was now pressing, Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei-chun were somewhat speechless. The way masters thought was really different from ordinary people. The mechanism was set at the height of Bai-shi. They would have had to get down on their knees to touch that place. This is really enough, Xiao He silently thought. However, this was understandable. The master had arranged the mechanism in a place that no one would have thought of. Rumble! The stone door opened suddenly, but because it had not been opened for many years when it was opened again, it made a loud noise and dust filled the air. The dust accumulated over hundreds of years could only be imagined, and it went into the eyes and mouth of Di Bei-chun and Bailey Hong Zhuang. The stone room door was opened. Quickly catch up with them. After the two cultivators saw that Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei-chun had opened the door to the stone room, the hearts of the two people were panicked. The treasures in the monument would surely not be bad. How could they let someone else grab it? But when they said this, it was already too late. Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei-chun rushed in the moment the stone room door opened. Bai-shi jumped on a Bailey Hong Zhuang's shoulder soon after. In the blink of an eye, the two people, Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei-chun, had disappeared before the two behind. As soon as they entered the stone room, Bailey Hong Zhuang was ready to close the door of the stone room. However, as soon as they walked into the chamber, the stone door automatically closed. When the two cultivators rushed up, the door of the stone chamber was closed, and their heads hit the stone door, and their noses were flattened. Bang! The two men continuously pounded on the door, but the door did not open at all. Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei-chun looked at the things in the stone room. In just a single look, both of them were stunned. In front of the two people were countless stars gleaming with a green light, floating in the stone room, translucent, very enticing. How is it possible? Bailey Hong Zhuang was shocked at the scene in front of her. The group of green-lit stars was floating in the stone room that was a few hundred square meters big. A closer look revealed that these green stars were wrapped in a green luminescence. They were the size of green apples, but they weren't a tangible entity, but balls of energy. Although well aware of ancient monuments, Bailey Hong Zhuang had to admit that this monument was indeed a big deal. Di Bei-chun's eyes locked onto these floating green fruits, his beautiful eyes full of shock. Can these be Yuanli Guo? Yuanli Guo was a condensed form of Yuanli. They were not real fruits, but instead made by the power of a cultivator. Yuanli Guo had a great effect on cultivators. If one were to absorb these Yuanli Guo, they would be able to improve their strength directly. However, very few cultivators would use their own strength to create Yuanli Guo. Usually, only elders would create these in order to help the juniors improve their strength. However, there were so many Yuanli Guo in the stone room. For Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei-chun, this was tantamount to finding a big treasure. There are so many Yuanli Guo. Our strength will be improved by a lot. Bailey Hong Zhuang's lips curved in a shallow smile. Just these Yuanli Guo were enough to make this trip to the ancient ruin worth the risk. Chapter 5:25 Shock and sudden change. The extraordinarily handsome face had traces of evilness and a self-confident smile. Di Bei-chun looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang next to him. These fruits will be very helpful for you. You should cultivate here first. I will see if there is any other way here to prevent others from entering. Yuanli Guo was a very special treasure that could not be given up on and could only be absorbed immediately. With the current strength of Bailey Hong Zhuang, tea was appropriate to absorb these fruits. He understood the cultivation talent of Bailey Hong Zhuang. It was not any weaker than any of those belonging to cultivation families, but she was a bit behind because of too much wasted time at the general's house. With the help of these Yuan Ligua, Bailey Hongzhuang could quickly catch up and save herself a lot of trouble on her future path. Listening to Di Bei Chen's words, Bailey Hongzhuang was a bit moved despite her initial surprise. If it was changed, the average person couldn't resist the temptation of these Yuan Ligua, and even lovers who would break up for these Yuan Ligua were definitely not in the minority. However, Di Bei Chun did not hesitate to choose to give her all these fruits. There are so many Yuan Ligua here, I can't absorb them all by myself. It is better for us both to cultivate here. Since these Yuan Ligua could not be taken away, they had no other way. The only way was to absorb it into their bodies at the fastest speed. After all, it was impossible for them to give up on such a treasure and leave. Well, you should cultivate first. I will keep watch of the stone door. Di Bei Chen nodded slightly, revealing a gentle smile to Bailey Hongzhuang, and then studied the stone door. Beyond the stone door, the other two cultivators constantly bombarded the door. You open this stone door. Hey! The stone door was continued to be attacked, but as always it stayed strong. There were no signs of any cracks. This made Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Bei Chun feel a little more secure. Baishir grabbed a Yuan Ligua that had been floating in front of him and directly inserted it into his mouth. Feeling its body instantly filling with Yuan Li, Baishir couldn't help but lick his mouth, and little stars emerged in his eyes. The two paws were constantly waving, trying to catch more fruits. Xiao He and Xiao Bai were also holding a Yuan Ligua in their hands. This feeling was really cool. Master, there seems to be something in the rightmost wall, Xiao Bai warned. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked towards the place where Xiao Bai said. Xiao Bai and Xiao He were strong and powerful, and their perception was very sensitive. She believed that their judgment would not be wrong. When Bailey Hongzhuang walked to the wall, she noticed that there was a slightly bulging position in the middle of the wall. A box made of black iron was placed in this groove, exuding a quaint atmosphere. After glimpsing at the box found by Bailey Hongzhuang, Di Bei Chun was a little surprised and immediately came to Bailey Hongzhuang. At the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang was also taking the box out of the groove. However, just at the moment when Bailey Hongzhuang took out the box, a change suddenly occurred. Chapter 526 Bad Situation and Forced Separation Boom. A dull and loud voice sounded, and a stone gate suddenly appeared in between Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Bei Chun, directly separating the two. After seeing this happen, Di Bei Chun rushed to where Bailey Hongzhuang was quick. However, the stone gate fell faster and blocked the approaching Di Bei Chun. Di Bei Chun's face was quickly dyed with an expression of worry. Are you fine, Yangzi? Nyangzi? No matter what, regardless of how Di Bei Chun shouted, he never got a response from Bailey Hongzhuang. Damn! Di Bei Chun was full of anxiousness. The appearance of this stone gate was too unexpected, completely surpassing his expectations. The majestic Yuan Li swept through Di Bei Chun's body and bombarded the stone gate. The thick stone gate, however, stayed strong like a steel cast. What is this stone gate? Although usually too lazy to care, at this moment, it was inevitable to be filled with rage. If his wife was in any danger, then he would regret it to death. Di Bei Chun, Bailey Hongzhuang shouted after being separated by the stone gate, but her shout did not receive any response. It seems that this stone gate can isolate any sounds. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. It should be like this. Even the stone door before was the same. In terms of the thickness of the stone door, it was no different than the stone doors they opened earlier, but if they wanted to, it was obviously impossible to smash it open. Xiao He and Xiao Bai quickly became bigger, and Baishir looked for mechanisms near the stone gate. They could not be trapped in here. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the box in her hand, and then considered that they were safe. This all happened because she picked up the box and obviously touched some mechanism. However, it was strange as she did not see anything in the middle of the groove. Her line of sight fell onto the black iron box in her hand. Even after hundreds of years, The box was bright and looked new, and there was no sign of aging over the years. There was a curious light in her clear eyes. She was curious about what was in the box. A small lock sealed the box, and no matter how hard she tried, the black iron box could not be opened. Seeing this situation, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. Finally, she found a treasure, but it could not even be opened. The depression in her heart could be imagined. "Master, we have searched thoroughly. There are no mechanisms in the vicinity." Xiaohe was frustrated and rolled to the side of Bailey Hongzhuang. What was with this monument? The current situation really made people speechless. Baisher was also somewhat helpless. This time he really couldn't find a mechanism. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled lightly, looking at the helpless faces of the three little guys. She said, "Since the owner of this monument has trapped us in here, there must be a way out. It wouldn't be a big deal to spend more time in here." She believed that they were in no danger. The owner of this monument made such a huge monument because he wanted to choose a qualified successor. Just as there are so many Yuan Li Gua in this stone room, it could be seen that this was a gift from the Lord to the younger generation. It was absolutely impossible for him to leave so many Yuan Li Gua to a dying person. Therefore, the stone room they were in must have a path, not a dead end. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was so confident, the three beasts were also somewhat confused, but they still believed in the words of their master. Chapter 5:27 Retreat. Strength is improved. There are so many Yuan Li Gua here, as far I can see. We should first improve our strength here. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were shining with wisdom and a firmness. Since these Yuan Li Gua could not be taken away, it was better to absorb them here first. Currently, improving her strength was the most important thing. Previously, the owner of this body had not been cultivating for a long time, and it could be considered good enough for her to reach this current level. Only, when she was compared to people from cultivation powers, her strength would become her shortcoming. All along, Bailey Hongzhuang's greatest pride had been her own strength. She was never arrogant about her own strength, but now she was being suppressed everywhere. Although she never said it out loud, only she was aware of her inner depression. Han Xiling was definitely not a fuel-efficient lamp. After this trip to the monument, the situation she would face later would become more and more sinister. Therefore, she must upgrade her strength as soon as possible. Now, these fruits were a good way for her to improve her strength as soon as possible. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, the three contractual beasts nodded together. The improvement of strength was indeed the most important thing now. Bailey Hongzhuang steeled her heart, and grasping a Yuan Li Gua floating in front of her, she swallowed it without hesitation. She was already on the verge of a breakthrough. It was just that the previous situation was not suitable for a breakthrough, so she had been suppressing it. It was rare to find such a peaceful environment. It was a good time to break through. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang had directly begun by trying to break through, the three beasts were very diligently guarding the side of Bailey Hongzhuang, aware that the sudden appearance of other people would disturb Master's breakthrough. As time passed, the Yuan Li Gua in the room gradually decreased. At the same time as Bailey Hongzhuang cultivated, Baisher also took out the demonic core of the Qing Tian Mo alligator, and sitting beside Bailey Hongzhuang, he also began breaking through. It has been a few days, and the Master and Baisher are still retreating. I don't know when they will wake up. It was really boring alone in the room. The amount of Yuan Li Gua left is not much. I believe that it will not take long for Master to break through. Xiaobai helplessly looked towards the side at Bailey Hongzhuang. Master had maintained her current posture for a while. However, the speed of improvement of the Master's strength during this time is very amazing. Haha. Saying this, Xiaohe was suddenly excited again. The benefits of Yuan Li Gua were really not exaggerated. With the help of so many Yuan Li Gua, Master's strength had leveled up, ignoring the time required to do so by other cultivators. And with her pace, she would soon catch up to Ji Yuner and the others. They believed that since the Master had now retreated into a state of cultivation, her cultivation level that had lagged behind over the years would catch up. Boom! At the same time, Xiao He and Xiao Bai said these. From around Bailey Hong Zhuang broke out an amazing power in an instant, and the Yuan Ligua floating in the air were directed towards Bailey Hong Zhuang under this coercion and flew over to her. Upon seeing this, Xiao He and Xiao Bai could not help but look at each other. The two beasts' eyes expressed their strong shock. There is such a large energy fluctuation, it is hard to achieve. Master is going to break through to the innate realm? As everyone knows, once the acquired realm was completed, only the innate realm, one, could be considered the real world of cultivation. However, before entering the innate realm, the speed of breakthroughs was the slowest, and it could often take as long as 10 years to enter the innate realm. Chapter 526, List of Chapters, Chapter 528, 1, Innate Realm. Previously termed by me as Congenital Realm, Chapter 475, the cultivation realms are briefly covered. However, one of my readers at Ava brought it to my attention that it doesn't really sound correct, so I changed it to Innate Realm, which actually does sound better. One more overview of cultivation system. Acquired Realm, Previous TLs, Alisku, Translation, Hodion Boundary, Mysterious Earth Realm, Mysterious Aeon Realm, Mysterious Heaven Realm. Each of these further divided into Early Stage, Intermediate Stage, and Late Stage, Innate Realm, previously TL'd by me as Congenital Realm. Hong border red, Chung border orange, Huang border yellow, Lu border green, Lan border blue, Z border purple, each further divided into 9 levels and, yes, there are only 6 borders, not 7, confirmed on my reread. Astral Realm, LOL, too far to even think about, like Chapter 4000 plus or something. Bailey Hong Zhuang's ring is actually Primordial Chaos Ring. I've been translating it as Chaos Ring. Cultivation techniques, Flow Merit Law, worst, Star Merit Law, Moon Merit Law, Sun Merit Law, best. BHC cultivates the demon calling scriptures, which does not fall into any of the above, but is different altogether. There was something about the level of martial arts too, but I can't find it. Carrot. Chapter 528, Strange Yuan Ligua previously. Their master's breakthrough speed to the mysterious heaven realm intermediate stage was already very fast. They had not expected that with the help of these Yuan Ligua, she would immediately start to break through into the innate realm. If the news of this speed of cultivation were to spread, they were afraid that the number of people shocked will be beyond count. This trip to the ancient monument was really worth it. Master is so powerful. That Ji Yuner is not the opponent of our master. She is a bit older and dares to boast of her cultivation level. Xiao He's brows rose, and his eyes were full of pride. In the past, Ji Yuner's strength had been stronger, and this had been extremely unfavorable to their master. They had not expected that their master would break through into the Hong border in such a short period of time. They wondered what kind of expression Ji Yuner would make if she knew this. Why is it that all of the Yuan Ligua have been absorbed by master, but there is still one floating here? Xiao Bai's eyes fell onto the only floating Yuan Ligua in the stone room. The characteristics of this Yuan Ligua were too unusual. Listening to Xiao Bai's words, Xiao He also looked at the Yuan Ligua in the air, and his eyes were full of an expression of wrongness. It's hard to think. This one must have some hidden mystery to it. Xiao Bai and Xiao He looked at each other and saw the flashing interest in each other's eyes. In the next moment, the figures of the 2 fluff balls did not hesitate to shoot towards the one Yuan Ligua. However, the Yuan Ligua seemed to have spirituality and avoided the attack of the 2 fluff balls. Seeing this situation, the 2 fluff balls were sure that this Yuan Ligua was special. All the previous Yuan Ligua had been very easy to capture. Only this Yuan Ligua was slippery and could not be caught. If Master had not absorbed all of the Yuan Ligua, they would have not found this mysterious Yuan Ligua. The way to leave this stone room must be related to this Yuan Ligua. Xiao He said, his brain's hole getting wider. During the period of their master's retreat, they had searched every corner of the stone room, and there was no mechanism to be found. It seems that this Yuan Ligua, which was constantly running away, was likely the way to leave the stone room. When they thought of this, Xiao He and Xiao Bai were full of endless excitement. They didn't believe that with their power, this Yuan Ligua could not be captured. Then a chasing game broke out in the stone room. Two figures, one black and one white, were constantly chasing the green Yuanligua, and all three were lightning fast. In desperation, the two fluffballs found that the speed of this Yuanligua was beyond their expectations. Even if they chased it together, this Yuanligua had still had the capacity to escape. Xiaohei and Xiao Bai were even angrier and immediately pounced towards the Yuanligua. This situation was really embarrassing for Xiaohei and Xiao Bai, and if they really couldn't catch it, then they were both useless. When Bailey Hong Zhuang successfully broke through to the innate realm and opened her eyes, she saw two fluffballs lying on the ground panting, and they looked like they had had a big fight with others. There was a hint of sorrow in their eyes, and doubts emerged in Bailey Hong Zhuang's mind. There was no one in the stone room except her and the three beasts. What were the two little fluffballs doing? What happened to you two? Bailey Hong Zhuang could not help but ask, did the two fluffballs fight among themselves? That Xiaohei gasped and sat up, saying, Master, I am exhausted. Xiao Bai's situation was also not good, but his eyes were flashing with excitement. Chapter 5, 29 Treasure, Black Iron Box. What happened? Bailey Hong Zhuang felt that the current situation was a bit wrong. Nothing should have happened while she was cultivating. After Xiao Bai heard this, it came to Bailey Hong Zhuang's side and reached for the key. Master, this key is for you. Seeing the key in Xiao Hei's hand, the elegant and refined face was covered with an expression of shock. Where did you find this key? Just looking at it, Bailey Hong Zhuang could be certain that this key could open the black iron box, and in her heart, she grew confused. This key was in a Yuanligua. As Xiao Bai recounted what happened before, Bailey Hong Zhuang understood the events that transpired previously, and she became even more surprised. The thoughts of this ancient monument's owner were really different. It was really hard to notice a key in a Yuanligua. Together with the events that happened before, obviously, everything from the time she walked into the stone chamber and what happened next was played out in the hands of the ancient monument's owner. Everything she did was prearranged by the owner. Only after she absorbed all the Yuanligua would she discover the last odd one and get the key. Otherwise, she was afraid that she would not be able to find a way to leave the stone chamber. How long have I been cultivating? Bailey Hong Zhuang asked. To her, it seemed like a short time had passed to absorb all the Yuanligua. Master has been cultivating for half a month, Xiao Hei slowly said. During this half-month, it was very boring only with Xiao Hei. It was almost like the long years in the Chaos Ring, with only they both together. Hearing the resentment in Xiao Hei's voice, Bailey Hong Zhuang's lips showed a smile. These two little guys had been trapped for too many years in the Chaos Ring. They feared loneliness the most. I don't know how Di Bei-chun is now, Bailey Hong Zhuang said out loud. She and Di Bei-chun had been suddenly separated. She believed that Di Bei-chun must be very worried about her. Half a month's time was not too short in the ancient monument. She didn't know what kind of situation they are in now. Thinking of this, Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes could not help but fall on the black iron box in her hands. She would like to see what was in it. Kacha! With a subtle sound coming, Bailey Hong Zhuang successfully opened the black iron box in her hand. After seeing the contents of the box, Bailey Hong Zhuang's deep, watery, phoenix eyes could not help but reveal a stunned expression. In front of her eyes, she saw a long, crystal-clear sword quietly placed in the black iron box. The crystal-long sword was like an icy shard, and a cold chill effused from it, exquisite and unique, giving a sense of surprise. Although Bailey Hong Zhuang had seen many weapons, she still felt that this long sword was the most charming. Among all the swords that she had seen, this sword seemed the most compatible. With a slight movement, the tip of the sword reflected a cold light, and there was a hint of murderous aura to it, making people feel a little scared and loving it at the same time. Wow, Xiao Hei exclaimed. This sword is so beautiful. It was also very knowledgeable. What kind of weapons had it not seen? But this crystal-clear weapon was really its the first time to see. On a closer look, there seems to be a faint line of red in the sword. It seems to be blood. Chapter 5:30 Treasure, Glass Sword. Listening to Xiao Hei's words, Bailey Hong Zhuang noticed that there was a faint trace of bloody color on the crystal-clear sword. This bloody color was extremely light, and if they didn't look carefully, they couldn't find it. This sword should not be an ordinary kind. The light and sweet voice revealed a mix of emotions, and Bailey Hong Zhuang gazed at the sword in her hands. From her point of view, this sword was very special. Even if she quietly placed it back in the black iron box, she could still feel the fierceness and murderousness of the sword. Obviously, this was a sword that was contaminated with blood. Master, you should first put a drop of blood on it to make it acknowledge you as master, Xiao Bai said. Once they walked out of the stone chamber, they don't know how many cultivators would hunger for the sword in master's hand. It was better to make it acknowledge her with blood first, and it won't be easy for others to take the sword away later. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded slightly as she moved her gaze away from the sword. It was just that she had always lacked a hand-to-hand combat weapon. This sword appeared at just the right time. She believed that with this sword, her combat power would be improved again. Thinking of this, Bailey Hong Zhuang no longer hesitated, directly cutting her finger and dripping blood on the sword. Blood dripped onto the blood, not immediately integrating into the blade, but a small trace appearing along the blade from the hilt to the tip of the sword, a long and thin line. With the influx of Bailey Hong Zhuang's spiritual power, the blood began to be slowly absorbed by the sword. As soon as the blood was absorbed, a bright white light appeared in the top of the sword, just like this radiant ancient monument. Then, Bailey Hong Zhuang noticed that there were two characters appearing on the crystal body of the sword. The words gave a feeling of sharpness. Lu Li. Lu Li. Bailey Hong Zhuang gazed at the two characters. Obviously, the name of this sword was Lu Li. This sword is so magical. It is almost unreal. A strange light flashed in Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai's eyes after seeing this sword, with its appearance and its special characteristics. Congratulations to Master. However, listening to the congratulations of the two fluffballs, Bailey Hong Zhuang shook her head. I just left a trace of my spirit on the glass sword and did not complete the acknowledgement. Why? Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai both widened their eyes and looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang with doubt. Bailey Hong Zhuang's cinnabar lips curved in a helpless smile. There is a seal on the sword. It is not an easy task to crack this seal. With my current power, it is not possible to crack the seek. It is better to leave a trace of my spirit on it. Branding, after leaving the ancient monument, we will think of it again. Xiao Bai and Xiao Hei understood this. It seems that things were not as simple as they thought. But for any treasure of a good grade, it was not a small matter to make it acknowledge a master, let alone a sword as special as Lu Li. Bailey Hong Zhuang slowly rose and looked at the door of the stone chamber in front of her. She had been trapped for the stone chamber for so long, it was time to go out. However, looking around, Bailey Hong Zhuang was surprised to find that on the right side of the stone room, she didn't know when, but a small door had appeared, and there was a simple lever next to the small door. With the idea of trying, Bailey Hong Zhuang turned the lever. Sha! A voice sounded, and then Bailey Hong Zhuang found that the stone door in front of her had suddenly opened. Chapter 5:31 Meeting again. Not a single second was wasted to open the door. This was the inner thought of Bailey Hong Zhuang and the two contractual beasts. That had to look for the mechanism for such a long time before, but now it was so easy to open the stone door. Not long after Bailey Hong Zhuang came out of the stone door, a pleasant voice came. Hong Zhuang, you finally appeared. A voice so active and full of joy. Who could it be besides Xia Zhiqing? The next moment, Bailey Hong Zhuang was directly pulled into a bear hug. Hong Zhuang, I haven't seen you in the monument for such a long time. I thought you had an accident. Xia Zhiqing's eyes were full of care. You're fine. When she saw Xia Zhiqing, Bailey Hong Zhuang was very happy. She immediately shook her head and said, I am very good. I am relieved to see that you are also fine. She had previously seen Zhiqing and the others when they had been trapped in the illusion. She had been very worried in her heart. She did not expect that she would just walk out the stone door and see Xia Zhiqing appear in front of her innocently, and her heart was full of happiness. Then, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes could not help but search for someone in the back. Previously, Di Beichen had been trapped in the stone room like her, and she didn't know if Di Beichen had come out. "Wifey, are you looking for me?" A low-pitched and enchanting voice sounded, revealing a bit of joy and sorrow, and Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a smile. The dark and bright phoenix eyes showed a touch of joy, and Bailey Hongzhuang's lips slowly curved. As long as Di Beichen was okay, she would be relieved. "Hongzhuang, how did you stay inside for so long?" Xia Zhiqing could not help but ask. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled helplessly. "I was trapped inside. I could not find a way outside for a while. I have only succeeded now." When she answered and looked at the situation around, she discovered that all cultivators were gathered here, but the environment in front of her was not of the one before she entered the stone chamber. This was another place. Why is everyone here? Bailey Hongzhuang was a bit puzzled. It was a given since she was trapped in the stone room for so long. The treasures in the monument should have already been collected by everyone. Why were they gathered here now? Xia Zhiqing sighed. "I have been here for 10 days. I heard everyone say that the door in front is the one to the main hall. The most valuable treasure is in the main hall, but this stone door is too strange. Simply does not open. This is an ancient monument. Naturally, everyone is reluctant to leave before seeing the final inheritor, so everyone is gathered here, and you are the last one to come." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded, and only then did she understand the situation as her eyes fell in the huge stone doors in front. Compared to the huge stone deuce in front of her, the place she came from before was just a very small stone room. This stone door was painted with exquisite and complicated patterns. It was beautiful and stunning, and watching it would give people a sense of peace and calmness. At the same time, Gong Xiaoqing and the others also walked to the side of Bailey Hongzhuang, their familiar faces flashing with concern and happiness. "Hongzhuang, fortunately you are fine." Zhang Yunfeng smiled. Everyone was worried to death. Bailey Hongzhuang noticed that Zhang Yunfeng and Chao Huiyin were injured. "What happened to you?" Chapter 532, Could She Be Happier? Cui Haoyin smiled and waved his hand. "It is just a little injury. It doesn't matter." Seeing that Cui Haoyin and Zhang Yunfeng's faces were normal, Bailey Hongzhuang also nodded. From a doctor's point of view, both Cui Haoyin and Zhang Yunfeng's injuries were not serious. "Bailey Hongzhuang, you can rest assured that we are fine." His heart had never been calm in the time that Bailey Hongzhuang had disappeared, and now a warm smile graced his face like a spring breeze. It was not until he saw Bailey Hongzhuang that he felt relieved. 1. Fu Hongbo looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, who had disappeared for half a month. He felt that the mental fortitude of Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to have changed. "Bailey Hongzhuang, your power seems to have enhanced a lot." Fu Hongbo's eyes were full of surprise. He felt that the power of Bailey Hongzhuang was much stronger than before, and it was no longer at the same level. Listening to Fu Hongbo's words, everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with surprise. Lu Huayan's eyes flashed with disbelief. "Bailey Hongzhuang, your aura, did you break through to the innate realm?" Hearing these words, Xia Zhiqing and the other people were instantly petrified, looking at Bailey Hongzhuang in an odd way. "Teacher, what kind of joke is this?" They had not seen Bailey Hongzhuang for only half a month. How could she have broken through to the innate realm? Seeing that the two teachers had discovered the change in her strength, Bailey Hongzhuang also smiled and admitted to it. "I just broke through to the first level of Hong border." Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang admit to it, Xia Zhiqing and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. They couldn't believe that what they had heard was true. "Bailey Hongzhuang, what good opportunity did you encounter in the past few weeks?" Xia Zhiqing could not help but ask. Such a quick upgrade in strength was really enviable. If you thought of the usual speed of cultivation, it would take at least 1 or 2 years to break through to the innate realm. Bailey Hongzhuang did it in only half a month. How could they not envy? Although Zhang Yunfeng and the others did not say it directly like Xia Zhiqing, the envy in their eyes was very obvious. I was previously locked in a stone room. There were a lot of Yuan Li Guo in the stone room. I couldn't find a way out. I could only stay inside and cultivate until I absorbed all of the Yuan Li Guo, and only then did the stone room open. When the crowd came to understand the reason, their hearts only felt that the luck of Bailey Hongzhuang was too good. Yuan Li Guo was a rare treasure. Bailey Hongzhuang was trapped in a place full of Yuan Li Guo. Could she be happier? Why was it that stone chambers they saw before were all blank, or the things inside were damaged, and Bailey Hongzhuang directly stumbled into a room full of Yuan Li Guo? And the most important thing was that she was actually trapped inside. They had also tried to open the stone room, but they couldn't open it regardless of the method they used. It was equivalent to meaning that all of the Yuan Li Guo in the room were destined for Bailey Hongzhuang. After absorbing them all, the stone room will open. What good thing did Bailey Hongzhuang do in her previous life? Such a good thing like Yuan Li Guo fell like a pie from heaven right into Bailey Hongzhuang's hands. Hongzhuang, your luck is too good. Xia Zhiqing could not help but admire. I haven't had much gain from this ruin. I thought that ancient monuments are not as precious a treasure as everyone says. Now I see you, and I believe that the reputation of ancient monuments is well deserved. Chapter 533 Depressed. Xia Zhiqing, Bailey Hongzhuang's red lips curved up in a shallow smile. She too felt that her harvest was not small. Her strength had improved, and it would be more convenient to do various other things in the future. After all, if strength was low, many things were not convenient to do. Cui Hao Yin and the others swallowed the envy and walked to the side. The luck of Bailey Hongzhuang belonged to no one but her. Could they say that they were more worthy of the treasure than her? Bailey Hongzhuang was very good, but right now the circumstances of each person were not the same. This time, they came to the ancient ruins together, but the gap between them was already unmistakable. Dongfang Yu looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a more complicated look, and at the same time, there were other emotions in his eyes. When he first met Bailey Hongzhuang, he did not feel there was any gap between them. He did not expect that Bailey Hongzhuang would only stay at the Songlan College for a short while, and the gap between them would get bigger and bigger. Perhaps at first, he was deluded with infatuation, but now he really felt that Di Bei-chun was the perfect person for Bailey Hongzhuang. In just 2.5 months, Bailey Hongzhuang's strength had surpassed his, and Di Bei-chun was still waiting, standing in the same place as Bailey Hongzhuang. T/N, I have no freaking idea what he means. Zhiqing, you have been in the monument for half a month. Did you have any gains? Bailey Hongzhuang's brows were furrowed. She was a little curious. She had been locked in the stone room since after they passed through the illusion, and SH did not know anything about what happened afterward. The happiest thing for her is that they had good luck. Although they were slightly injured, the problem was not serious, and she was relieved. Xia Zhiqing shook her head and then sighed again. The weird road before, I was trapped for a long time there. If it wasn't by chance, I wouldn't have come out. I felt so powerless then. How powerful must be the method. We had been walking all that while, and it felt so real. After I came out, many other cultivators had also already come out. I just came, but it turned out that I came out late, and the treasures were already taken away by the others, and I couldn't get anything. Xia Zhiqing shrugged. The only thing I am thankful for is that I haven't thrown away my life here. Hongzhuang, how did you break free from that illusion? That was just a fantasy one. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and explained. I came out very early, but I was locked inside as soon as I walked into the stone room. Fantasy? Xia Zhiqing raised her voice and thought about it, thinking that the name was very fitting for what she had seen before. Yes, it was a fantasy. I listened to the Yin Jia's cultivators, and they aid that you and Di Bei-chun were the first to come out. They wanted to catch up with the of you, but they could not. Xia Zhiqing grinned. In my opinion, the cultivators of these families are not as powerful as rumored to be. Listening to these words, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood what Xia Zhiqing meant, but she thought of Di Bei-chun. The heritage of a cultivation family is deep. We have come in contact with nothing but the tip of the iceberg, Bailey Hong Zhuang reminded. She knows that Xia Zhiqing had always been very loyal to her, but she does not want Xia Zhiqing to offend some powerful opponents because of her. Hearing the hidden meaning in the words of Bailey Hong Zhuang, Xia Zhiqing's face also became serious. She understood that Bailey Hong Zhuang was her true friend, and so this reminder was because she cared for her. Chapter 534, Blaming Himself. Di Bei-chun, her beautiful and exquisite face, showed a faint smile. Xia Zhiqing held Bailey Hong Zhuang's hands and seriously said, Hong Zhuang, what you mean, I understand. You can rest assured, I will not take the initiative to offend them. Seeing that Xia Zhiqing knew what she meant, Bailey Hong Zhuang also showed a gentle smile. That's good. In our current situation, we should not have many entanglements with them after all this. In her dark, phoenix eyes, a touch of solitude and firmness spread quietly. Now, they don't have many encounters, but perhaps in the future, they won't be less. The Lan family, this mysterious and powerful family, she believed they would meet them soon. Hong Zhuang, during this time when you were locked in the stone room, Di Bei-chun was worried about you. When we came here, we saw Di Bei-chun standing right outside this door. When there was the slightest movement, he would look there. Han Xiling also questioned him, but Di Bei-chun apparently had all his thoughts on your well-being, and he did not bother much with her. Xia Zhiqing winked towards Bailey Hong Zhuang, a trace of a smile on her face, making her feel a bit awkward for a second. I say that Di Bei-chun is a good man, worth spending your life with. My eyes are still not bad. With the current expression of Xia Zhiqing, Bailey Hong Zhuang was also somewhat helpless. This man was really a living treasure. You haven't seen each other for more than half a month. There must be a lot to say. I won't bother you now. Her voice falling, Xia Zhiqing snickered and walked to the other side despite Bailey Hong Zhuang's look. She had been here with Hong Zhuang for so long. She thought that Di Bei-chun must long have been unable to hold it in. After Xia Zhiqing left, Di Bei-chun slowly walked to Bailey Hong Zhuang's side. Nyangzi, were you okay during this time in the stone chambers? The deep sea eyes were filled with very complex expressions, full of concern, distress, and guilt. As early as before entering the monument, he had promised to take care of Bailey Hong Zhuang and never thought that he would make such a mistake. During this time, he had already drowned in guilt countless times, regretted it countless times. If his wife was in danger, he would hate himself. Do you think I was okay in the stone room? Bailey Hong Zhuang chuckled, but as soon as she looked up, she was looking into a pair of deep eyes full of embarrassment and pain. Seeing the situation, Bailey Hong Zhuang could not help but pause. She was only making a joke with Di Bei-chun, and she never thought that Di Bei-chun would reveal an expression like this. Nyangzi, I am sorry. Di Bei-chun's voice was low and hoarse. I didn't take care of you. Hearing the deep self-blame in Di Bei-chun's words, Bailey Hong Zhuang could not help but say, I was very good inside. What happened, it was also part of increasing my strength. You shouldn't feel sadness. Seeing that Di Bei-chun looked so serious, even though it was a joke, Bailey Hong Zhuang felt a bit worried. Anything can happen in an ancient monument. You have looked after me well, not to mention my good luck. This was also a chance for me. It is naturally excellent since wifey came out safe and sound. Di Bei-chun saw the look on Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes, and his heart softened. And in his heart, he felt more fortunate. Fortunately, his wife was safe and sound. Otherwise, he really did not know what he would do. He knew very well that his wife had come out safely this time. It was good luck, but it was undeniable that he did not take care of her. Chapter 535, exact same situation. If he had been careful, Bailey Hong Zhuang would not have disappeared from his sights. Anything could happen in an ancient monument, and even some cruel and terrible things were not uncommon. This time he was panicked. He had already sworn a vow that he would never let such a thing happen again. Seeing Di Bei-chun's face, she looked at him a few moments more, before Bailey Hong Zhuang finally put down her heart. She didn't want Di Bei-chun to blame himself because of this incident. Perhaps the master of the monument had already thought of this and attempted to do such a thing when he designed that mechanism in the stone room. How could they have anticipated it since earlier? How were you in the stone room? Her dark, bright eyes revealed care, and Bailey Hong Zhuang asked in a soft voice. When she was trapped in the stone room, she was very much worried about Di Bei-chun's situation too. When she saw Di Bei-chun, she had already given him a once-over. Fortunately, nothing dangerous had happened to Di Bei-chun, and she was relieved. After the sudden appearance of the stone gate that separated you and me, I found that there was no more sound in the stone room, and even the voices of the two cultivators who had kept yelling outside the stone room's door had disappeared. I thought that you were caught in a dangerous situation, but after seeing that the stone room was quiet, I felt a little relieved, but I had still not found a way to leave the stone tomb. I could only absorb all of the Yuan Li Gup in the room and finally find the Yuan Li Guo with a key in it. Speaking of this, Di Bei-chun's eyes suddenly brightened. I found a box made of black iron in the stone room. Was there a sword in the box? The more Bailey Hong Zhuang heard Di Bei-chun talk, the more she was sure that his situation before had been exactly like hers. The things in the stone room were split in two, and the sudden appearance of the stone gate was only to separate her from Di Bei-chun. This must have been designated by the master of the ancient monument. Therefore, it was not that Di Bei-chun did not take care of her, but that the master of the monument had already made up their mind to separate them. Even if Di Bei-chun was right by her side, the monument's master must have some other way to separate them. When he heard Bailey Hong Zhuang's question, Di Bei-chun's eyes flashed with a touch of surprise. He asked, "How do you know?" Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled, and the beautiful and enchanting smile bloomed on her delicate face, pleasing to the eyes. It was unforgettable, because I encountered the exact same situation in the stone room as you. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled lightly. The same? Di Bei-chun was stunned, and he couldn't help but think of the box he had seen Bailey Hong Zhuang take before he and she were separated. So, isn't it? Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled and nodded. Yes, this should have been deliberately planned by the monument's master. The things in the stone room were divided into two. After hearing this, Di Bei-chun's brow wrinkled, and his handsome face was full of thoughtfulness. So, why did the Lord want to do this? Seeing the current situation, the two of them had a big gain. Even if other cultivators also have a lot of gains, there was still a big gap between their harvest. Bailey Hong Zhuang shrugged. I don't know, but I think that the master of this monument must have some deep thoughts, and we just haven't found it yet. Chapter 536 is not simple. Hong Zhuang. While Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei-chun's thoughts were on the deep meaning that the arrangement of the ancient monument's owner may have, the eyes of other people could not help but fall on them. In the short period of half a month, Bailey Hong Zhuang broke through to the first step of the Hong borders. Yin Lingxian was in disbelief. This progress was too great. He thought that breaking through from the intermediate stage mysterious heaven realm to the first level of the Hong border took a long time. It seems that Bailey Hong Zhuang chanced upon a great opportunity in the monument, so she could directly break through from the acquired realm to the innate realm. Huang Fu, we said faintly and with sorrow, it seems that their luck was not as good as Bailey Hong Zhuang's. If this opportunity had befallen him, his strength would have been improved again, going beyond Yin Ling Xiuang and the others. Lin Yiro's pretty face was also filled with emotions, even though she had never talked to Bailey Hong Zhuang before. It now seemed that Bailey Hong Zhuang was not as simple as she imagined. Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei-chun were the first to pass through the illusion. Just from this point, the strength cannot be underestimated. It can only be said that we were too slow in breaking the illusion. Yin Lingxian frowned. Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei-chun were together. Why do you think that it is Bailey Hong Zhuang who should not be underestimated? Maybe it was because of the merits of Di Bei-chun that they were able to walk out of the illusion. Thinking of Di Bei-chun's strength, they were all convinced of it. After all, Di Bei-chun was famous since before and was well known among the young cultivators in the Shengxian continent. They also admired him. It was normal if they were defeated by the hands of Di Bei-chun. This was difficult for them to accept, but if they say that they had lost to some unknown person, they felt it unacceptable. Lin Yiro's eyebrows rose slightly, and the calm and quiet face was full of a deep smile. Looking at Lin Yiro's expression, Yin Lingxian confirmed that Lin Yiro knew something that he did not know. He couldn't help but ask, "Lin Yiro, if you know something, don't hide, just tell me." "Miss Lin, you know it would be better to say it. Let us also analyze it." Huang Fu Hui was also attracted. Lin Yiro looked at the curious expression of Yin Lingxian and Huang Fu Hui, and the curve of her lips rose slightly. Before hearing the cultivators of the family talk about the illusion, did you know that the situation we encountered before was a fantasy? Yin Lingxian and Huang Fu Hui looked at each other. At first glance at each other, they shook their head. "I didn't know." "That's exactly it." "What do you mean?" Yin Lingxian frowned. Why did he not understand the meaning of the words Lin Yiro said? I heard the conversation between Han Xiling and Di Beichun, and Di Beichun said that the situation they had seen before was an illusion. She didn't know it. He told her what it was. This proves that Bailey Hong Zhuang knew it from before. The things she knows are no less than what we know. Perhaps it is even more than us. With the voice of Lin Yiro falling, the faces of Yin Lingxian and Huang Fu Hui also became dignified. So it seems that the secrets Bailey Hong Zhuang held were really a lot. As a child of a cultivation family, they know a lot of things, but for this illusion, it was really the first time they saw it, and it was their first time even hearing of it. Perhaps Bailey Hong Zhuang happens to know just this special thing, Yin Lingxian said slowly. Lin Yiro chuckled softly. The cultivators of the families do not know it was an illusion, they just thought that they were in a fantasy. Chapter 537 Hate. Han Xiling, as soon as she said this, Yin Lingxian and Huang Fu Hui's expressions suddenly changed. They thought that the word illusion was spread after the two cultivators of the families judged it. It could be seen from Lin Yiro's meaning that the first person who discovered the illusion was Bailey Hong Zhuang. Then, according to your words, Di Beichun and Bailey Hong Zhuang could get out of the illusion first. It was because of Bailey Hong Zhuang? Yin Lingxian's eyes revealed his incredulity. This was impossible. How could the young miss of a general's family know so many things? Otherwise, who is it? Lin Yiro asked. With your intelligence, you should not deceive yourself. Yin Lingxian looked slightly different. As Lin Yiro said, they could have such a status in their families. They won't be fools. There was absolutely no need to deceive themselves. It was most important to recognize reality. Nowadays, everything was made excitable by Bailey Hong Zhuang. Plus, with the acupuncture technique displayed by Bailey Hong Zhuang before, it could be seen that she was not an easy character. Huang Fu Hui looked blankly, then shook his head. I said that the woman that Di Beichun likes must definitely not be a normal person. Now it seems that what I thought was really right. Ji Yuner also heard the conversation between Lin Yiro and the others, but now she had no room for any words. Although he did not believe that Bailey Hong Zhuang could be so powerful, Bailey Hong Zhuang had saved her life before. If she were to fight with Bailey Hong Zhuang, there was no doubt that everyone would think of her as a villain who was just envious. Since this was the case, Ji Yuner was unwilling. After all, this time she really had lost too much of face. Lin Yiro and Huang Fu Hui were still slightly better, but Yin Lingxian was definitely a guy who does not mind revealing hidden matters. She believed that at the end of this expedition to the ancient monument, Yin Lingxian would definitely spread rumors of her and the things which happened here. At this time, she felt a big headache coming as she thought about how to deal with this problem. Han Xiling's face was leisurely and indifferent, and she always had a light attitude towards Lin Yiro's conversation and seemed to never put it in her heart. However, as long as anyone looked carefully at Han Xiling at this moment, they would find that her hands were tightly clutching her clothes, and the pair of autumn-spring like watery eyes were filled with unsettled emotions. Di Beichun had not rested for 3 days and 3 nights because of fear that Bailey Hong Zhuang had met with some mishap. His eyes were always locked onto the stone door. Even if she talked to Di Beichun, he either answered coldly or faintly, as if he had lost his heart. This was the first time she had seen Di Dage so worried about a person. In the past, apart from the sovereign, Di Dage had the same attitude towards all others. He would be unfeeling, unbothered. She knew this because Di Bei-chun did not care about other people at all. And she had been trying to become the person that Di Bei-chun cares about, but she had not succeeded. Instead, she found another woman who could make Di Bei-chun reveal such a panicked expression. When she thought of Di Dage's expression at that time, she felt that someone had stabbed a knife into her heart and could not breathe her. Now, she was hearing how good Bailey Hongzhuang was, how she was not simple, her mood could be imagined. She didn't believe that Bailey Hongzhuang was anything special. She was just a normal young miss from a general's family. Di Dage must have been blinded by lard to see her. Chapter 538 High-Profile Love Show. Han Xiling mocked in her heart. Linny Ro and the others thought that they were smart, but they were actually just a bunch of fools. Completely ignorant of the prestige of Di Dage, they only felt it was impossible to like an ordinary woman with Di Bei-chen's abilities, so they looked at Bailey Hongzhuang so highly. In fact, the situation of Di Dage in the past 3 years was clear to her. She could almost imagine what kind of dog blood feelings were between Di Dage and Bailey Hongzhuang. Di Dage was nothing more than a little depressed after his injury, and Bailey Hongzhuang just happened to be with him. With her position, she naturally had to stay at Tiangang Zone to cultivate. She couldn't stay by Di Dage's site in Fengbo country, and Bailey Hongzhuang had just taken advantage of the separated days between her and Di Dage. He was hers, and she will never allow others to steal her things. Thinking of this, Han Xiling did not hesitate and walked to the side of Di Bei-chun and Bailey Hongzhuang. Her pretty, refined face was like an elegant lotus, and with a pleasant smile, Han Xiling revealed an expression of concern over Di Bei-chen's pallor. Di Dage, these days you have not had a good rest. It is better to eat something than get a good rest. Di Bei-chen looked at the food handed over by Han Xiling, looking at Han Xiling with indifference and said, "Xiling, you can eat it yourself. I have food prepared here." Hearing this, Han Xiling's expression became stiff. The smile on her pretty face was a bit unnatural, but she quickly disguised her look. "Di Dage, these are what you would like to eat at the sect. You can eat it." Seeing that Han Xiling was so insistent, Di Bei-chen took it and said, "Xiling, thank you." The curve of Han Xiling's lips became slightly wider. However, it was not until Han Xiling's smile had completely bloomed when Di Bei-chen's words made her smile freeze on her lips. "Nyangzi, these are special snacks from Tiangang Zone. How about you taste it?" Di Bei-chen looked at his side to Bailey Hongzhuang, the incomparable handsome face with a gentle and caring smile. Obviously, in his eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang was the most beautiful. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Bei-chen a little strangely. She didn't know if Di Bei-chun was doing this deliberately, but such an attitude would obviously make Han Xiling extremely uncomfortable. It's hard to think. Was it necessary to let Han Xiling see such a show? For a moment, Bailey Hongzhuang also had the thought that Di Bei-chun was really evil, but since Di Bei-chun had done this, she would also take advantage of it. "Okay, let me try it." Bailey Hongzhuang smirked before smiling, taking a piece and putting it in her mouth. This taste, Bailey Hongzhuang's mood instantly brightened. This Tiangang Zone was not only strong, but even the taste of their food was very good. As the master of an aristocratic family, she used to have a lot of good things, but after crossing over, she did not live as luxuriously as before. In order to improve her strength as soon as possible, she put all her energy into cultivation, and she did not care much about food. "Yes, very delicious." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Looking at the cute and playful look of Bailey Hongzhuang, the expression of care in Di Bei-chen's eyes also deepened. "If you like it, I will take you to Tiangang Zone to taste more of these snacks in the future." Han Xiling had already been annoyed, but when she heard Di Bei-chen say this, she really couldn't believe it. How could her glorious Di Dage become like this? Chapter 539, Can it be more exaggerated? Not only Han Xiling, but on the other side, all the others and even Ji Yuner were looking at the interaction between Di Beichun and Bailey Hong Zhuang with an unbelievable look. Oh my God! Did they hear it wrong? The Di Beichun, who had always been so cold usually, was now so gently feeding Bailey Hong Zhuang? Can this be more exaggerated? With what happened this time, they were having doubts whether this man in front of them was the same as before. Now it's over. Di Beichun really fell in love this time. In front of everyone's faces, he is caring for Bailey Hong Zhuang. It is absolutely true love. Yin Lingxian felt a bit emotional, but his smile was proud. Since Di Beichun was so true to Bailey Hong Zhuang, there should be no possibility between him and Han Xiling. So, was there still a chance for him? How could Di Gongzi become like this? Ji Yuner's slender eyebrows were knotted. This was really unbelievable. In the past, she felt that Di Beichun treated everyone with a cold temperament. Only Han Xiling was different. It seemed now that although Di Beichun really was different towards Han Xiling, it was still completely different from his treatment of Bailey Hong Zhuang. Was it really like everyone said, that people will become different once they meet someone they really like? Ah, take the show of love? Han Xiling. Xiao Bai laughed proudly. He looked at Di Beichun, feeling that the more he looked, the more handsome he became. Yes, die of jealousy and madness. This man can only be master's man, and others are like playthings. Xiao He said even more happily. Di Beichun's performance made them sure that they had not read this person wrongly. Otherwise, these young masters would really give him a good meal. Baishir had now returned to the Chaos Ring. The energy in the demonic core of the Qing Tian Mo alligator was very filling, and Baishir had also consumed a certain amount of Yuan Ligua. There was no problem with having a breakthrough. Han Xiling was stiff and looked at the two, speaking sweetly to each other. After a moment of anxiety, her face flashed with a light expression. Bailey Hong Zhuang faintly looked at Han Xiling. She had to say that this Han Xiling's camouflage ability was indeed good. If it were changed to an ordinary woman, they couldn't help but worry about it after seeing situations like this. Han Xiling could still pretend that the thing had never happened. This alone proved her to be stronger than a lot of women. Looking at her posture, it was clear that Han Xiling was preparing to end any third party, and there were no plans of leaving. I'll go see what's wrong with the closed stone door. You haven't had a good rest these few days. Take a break for a while. Bailey Hong Zhuang said with care. Yushi had heard from Ji Qing that Di Beichun had not rested for a few days because he was worried about her safety. Di Beichun must have been very hurried in the stone chamber too. Otherwise, he could not have absorbed all the energy in the Yuan Ligua and leave the stone room in such a short period of time. Hearing these words, Di Beichun looked deeply at Bailey Hong Zhuang and saw that she was not the least bit unhappy. Instead, she was worried about his appearance, and he finally let go of the worry in his heart. You be careful. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded slightly and chuckled. Okay. Chapter 540 Bailey Gunyang Become Friends? Seeing that Bailey Hong Zhuang had left, Han Xiling couldn't help but stare at Bailey Hong Zhuang's figure. An indescribable resentment accumulated in her heart. Han Xiling had always been proud, and she had always been a star among the many talented cultivators. She never felt she would lose to anyone. However, in terms of feelings, she lost to such an empty vase-like woman. Well, it will not be long before Bailey Hong Zhuang disappears from in front of my eyes. Han Xiling comforted herself. There were too many people here now. She could not ruin her image. A small country's general's miss. If she wanted to kill her, her means were very good. Bailey Hong Zhuang slowly walked in front of the closed doors, everyone's eyes on her. Many cultivators had gathered front off the stone door and constantly exploring to find ways to open the stone door. More cultivators were sitting around the stone door lazily. During this time, they had seen every part of the stone door, but they had not found any organ. Not only that, but they also joined forces to attack the stone door, but the stone door was harder than they thought. No matter what they did, this stone door did not open. Seeing Bailey Hong Zhuang appear, The cultivators of Jijia could not help but open up a position for her. After all, previously Bailey Hongzhuang had saved Ji Yuner, and she had been kind to them. The disciples of Tiangang Zong also let a position open. Although they followed Han Shiling, the status of Di Beichen's wife was not simple. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the stone door in front of her. This stone door was the same as the one they had encountered previously in the monument. Apart from the slight difference in height, there was no difference between the two. In addition, the master's way of thinking was not the same as other people. She had to think in a place where other people hadn't, and it would only then be possible to find a way to open the stone door. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was looking at the organ in the stone door, Lin Ro, don't know when had walked up to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. Bailey Gunyang, I am Lin Ro. Lin Ro said softly and courteously. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang slowly turned and looked at Lin Ro. Hello, Lin Gunyang. For Lin Yiru, her impression was quite profound, although Lin Ro did not show much, nor had she ever had an exchange with her. But from the sum of the things happening later, she was able to judge that Lin Ro was a very intelligent woman. If she was not smart, she would not be able to gain her stats in the family with her gentle and soft appearance. On the contrary, it seemed absolutely possible that there would be many people bullying her. I admire Bailey Gunyang's abilities very much. I wonder if I can become friends with you? Lin Ro said softly. The gentle and modest appearance was comforting and relaxed, and there was no reason to refuse. Bailey Hongzhuang's red lips curved in a slight smile. The look in her eyes did not change as she exchanged words with Lin Ro. She said lightly, of course, it is my pleasure to be friends with Lin Gunyang. Although she used the same word friends, whereas Xia Zhiqing was a true friend, this Lin Ro was nothing but here for the benefits. If she guessed it well, Lin Ro's relationship with Han Shiling should not be good, so she would come to her to be friends. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang had so easily agreed, Lin Ro was also a little surprised, originally worried that Bailey Hongzhuang's temperament would be very difficult to get along with. It now seemed she was just thinking too much. Empty vase-like woman, a woman who only looks beautiful, but has no substance whatsoever. HXL is calling BHZ substanceless. Gunyang means girl, young woman, young lady, daughter, paternal, and old. For this, should I translate this as Gunyang or change it to Miss, from the form of address Bailey Gunyang to Miss Bailey? However, this term is used later by a lot of elders who are referring to BHZ as Bailey girl, and it will be awkward to use the word Miss there because an elder would not refer to her as Miss, especially if it's someone close like a teacher. Or use the term girl and Miss according to who is speaking. Chapter 541 Reminder. Lin Ro, since Miss Bailey has become my friend, then I would like to advise you. I hope you will not blame me for saying more than I should. Lin Ro said. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled, please say. Since it is a kind reminder, how can I think so? Han Shiling does not have such a gentle temper since Miss Bailey is together with Di Gongzi. Then you have to be careful of Han Shiling. You can't be the least bit careless. Lin Ro lowered her voice and said it in a low tone that only she and Bailey Hongzhuang could hear. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows slowly rose. It seemed that her guess was correct. Lin Ro must have some enmity with Han Shiling that others did not know. However, there was nothing wrong with what Lin Ro had said. Han Shiling was definitely not a fuel-efficient lamp. The reason why Han Shiling had always been pretending to be gentle and had never done anything to her was that she was smart and did not want to show her bad side in front of Di Beichun. Once this expedition to the ancient monument was over, Han Shiling would definitely take action, and her troubles would start. However, trouble was also a driving force for progress. If Han Shiling sent trouble to her, then she would also regard them as honing stones, and to hone her own strength, it was a good choice. Thank you, Miss Lin, for reminding me. I will be more careful. Her beautiful face that could ruin cities had a gentle smile, and Bailey Hongzhuang looked light and serious. Since Lin Ro had given her a kind reminder, she would also accept Lin Ro's feelings. Because there was no conflict of interest between the two of them, She believed that Lin Ro would not harm her. After all, the enemy of your enemy was a friend, and their common opponent was Han Xiling. Yin Lingxian and the others saw that Lin Ro suddenly started a whisper conversation with Bali Hongzhuang, and there was a look of surprise on their faces. Lin Ro's performance had been very different from usual this time. They didn't know why this was. After warning Bailey Hongzhuang about Han Xiling, she stopped talking and went back to where she was before. The ability to have a conversation with Bailey Hongzhuang was enough to make their relation closer, but it was not enough. However, for now, it was a good choice to have made good relations. Xia Zhiqing could not help but walk to Bailey Hongzhuang's side and ask, "Hongzhuang, what did Lin Ro say to you just now?" When these words were said, Xia Zhiqing felt that she seemed like a busybody and could not help but explain, "I just think that these families are not good news. So for what I asked, if it is not convenient for you, don't answer." Looking at Xia Zhiqing, who was rushing in panic, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but chuckle. "Zhiqing, I know your thoughts. You don't have to explain." Ah! Xia Zhiqing still had some concerns, but after seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang's look was not fake, only then she was relieved. "Well, I was afraid that you misunderstood me. With the relationship between us two, how could I misunderstand you?" Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and patted Xia Zhiqing's shoulder. It was clear Zhiqing had no scheming thoughts. "Lin Ro just reminded me some things, and she had no other intention. Don't worry." Hearing this, Xia Zhiqing was relieved. "As long as you were fine, I was just worried that Lin Ro harbored malicious intentions." Chapter 542 Stone Door. Two grooves. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips had a warm smile. "You understand what I mean? Hongzhuang, you are much smarter than me. I believe you must understand things more than I." Xia Zhiqing smiled and looked at her with eyes filled with a little bit of embarrassment. She was so concerned about trouble, she forgot Bailey Hongzhuang's smarts and wisdom. Seeing the situation, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile also became wider by a bit. It was a great gain to come to the Conglan College and to know such a friend like Xia Zhiqing. Bailey Hongzhuang knocked on the closed stone room door and listened for any difference in sound. "Hongzhuang, no need to knock in the past 10 days. Everyone has almost checked every trace of this stone door in this place. Even the door was not let go, and end mechanisms have been found." Xia Zhiqing shrugged. During this time, so many people had already used the methods that they can think of, but there were still no gains. Hearing these words, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Everyone stayed here for so long, and they had tried everything. So, what else could it be that everyone missed? The pools in her phoenix eyes were shimmering with wise thoughts, and Bailey Hongzhuang looked at every part of the stone door. Since this stone door was closed, there must be a way to open it, but everyone had not noticed it all this while. "I really admire the thoughts of this monument's master. This mechanism is so hidden, so many people can't find it." Xia Zhiqing's face was full of helplessness. Whether it had been the previous illusions or the stone door in front of her, it really made her admire this monument's master. It was too weak facing this ancient monument with her IQ and ability. At this moment, Bai Junyu had walked to Xia Zhiqing's side. "The monument's masters are well-deserved, strong tyrants. Their thoughts are naturally not so easy to guess. It is normal for us to take some time to find it." Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Bai Junyu, who was standing behind Xia Zhiqing and looking at her. The smile deep in her eyes became a little brighter. After half a month, she felt that the relationship between Bai Junyu and Zhiqing was quite close. "Bailey Hongzhuang, you just came out of the stone door. Don't you need to rest for a while?" Bai Junyu asked. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head slightly. "No, I have been cultivating in the stone room. I'm not tired at all." In fact, for half a month, she had only stayed in the same position. Her body had become a bit stiff. She only wanted to be active right now. Suddenly, Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze fell on the doorknob of the stone door. Under the two rings, there were two grooves with similar circular shapes. "What is this?" Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. Bai Junyu glanced at the thing pointed by Bailey Hongzhuang and smiled, saying, "This is just a decoration." It has no effect. Everyone has already studied it. Xiaoji Qing also nodded slightly. This similar circular groove was inscribed with patterns. There was no use besides decoration. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze was firmly solidified on the two grooves, because she thought that the patterns on these two grooves were somewhat familiar. Exactly where had she seen this pattern? Bailey Hongzhuang constantly thought in her mind. She did not see many things in the ancient monument. The next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang had a revelation, and she already had an idea in her mind. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.